Welcome to this week's Terrace Bay Council meeting. A delegation appeared in front of council to gather support for a scenic rest area that would also improve safety and driving conditions. Another presentation focused on home repair initiatives, highlighting available support and priority projects. Finally, there was discussion around recent school bus cancellations during bad weather episodes and what might be done to reduce future disruptions for students and families. Now here's this week's agenda.
On Tuesday, February 17th, 2026, I call this meeting of the Council of the South at Terrace Bay to order. Declaration: the Council of the Township of Terrace Bay hereby acknowledges that we're in Robinson Strait Treaty Territory, and the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and Métis. We have a motion moved by Councillor St. Louis, second by Councillor Aduno. Resolve the Council approve the agenda for the regular council meeting held February 17th, 2026 as amended. And 6C is going to be Marlene McGrath, student council report to council. Are there any other additions, deletions, or amendments? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Are there any disclosures of interest? Adoption of minutes. We have a motion moved by Councillor Aduno, second by Councillor St. Louis. Resolved that the minutes of the regular council meeting held February 2nd, 2026 be approved as presented. Any questions on that motion or the minutes? All in favor? Carried. Okay, presentations. Elise Dostal, service line warranties.
Disappointing, your worship. I don't see Elsie online. So I was speaking to her today, so I'm not sure. Maybe she'll show up in a few minutes, but I would suggest you go on with the next presentation. The next presentation day should show up.
John, you're up.
Already? Oh,
Yes.
hope not straight out. For those of you that don't know me, I'm John McDonald. I was raised in Terrace Bay, moved to Port Francis many years ago. Worked there in that pulp mill for 29 years and then moved back to Scribe, and residing to the state. Just a little footnote before we get going. While in Terrace Bay here, I was active in the community. I ran an Opportunities for Youth program for the high school students 2 years in a row. And also was one of the people responsible for having the Slate Islands made into a provincial park. Of course, and I did work for the police, as you mentioned a little while ago, and I had to quit when I left that area. You're all aware of the highway realignment near Salem, west of Scribe. And I had Elise Dostal, our MPP, check in on it and see if there was if they had included in its plans a viewing station at the top of that hill. And the DOT emailed her back and said absolutely not. They will not entertain anything like that. They did say that if Scribe wanted to foot the bill, they would consider it. So by that statement, I saw that it was possible to have this done. We're in the stages of forming a committee right now, and certainly we'll have somebody from Terrace Bay on that committee to go back to the government as many times as necessary, because we're missing an opportunity there to really have something, a first class lookout, where people can actually not be ashamed to take their visitors to, because you gotta keep your windows rolled up because there might be a bear there or whatever. But I want to see picnic tables there. I want to see a couple of good outhouses. And as you're all aware, you could drive down past Pigeon River, and almost every little river there's a gorgeous park there where you can park and have scenic lookout. We don't have that here. The only one that I can think of is by Rossford, is that little turnaround. And it's, you put 4 or 5 vehicles in there and it's full.
Yeah.
Now, the DOT also explained to me when I protested that they're putting one transport rest station, and they've already done that at Terrace Bay. And my email back to them at the time was, it's not for transport trucks. They're missing the whole idea. So we're not done with that, but why I'm here is, and please, if you have any questions, I want to leave you so we're perfectly clear of what we hope to accomplish. We're gonna run with it as long as we can. And, but while the equipment is there, they're gonna be there for more than a year now. While it's there, it would be quite easy for them to do this at the top of that hill, because you can't believe how beautiful it is. I will just send 2 very poor pictures that I took around the table if you want to look at them. A little bit of a view from that top. And but what I'm asking for the township of Terrace Bay is no, absolutely no liabilities on finances, but to give me a letter of support for that viewing station if possible. And I'm waiting for the scribers' answer yet. They won't know until their next council meeting. And the local base flat is on board. It seems like the scriber community, these people are very much on board. And I hope to get enough letters of support to take this back to the government and not to stop there. I'm gonna get Patty Highview involved in it because she just sent us Aboriginal people a nice brochure saying that there's money there for the Aboriginal. So I'm even gonna tackle it from that avenue, although she is federal. But I'm gonna go that way because we have a Métis community in Schreiber. And of course, M&O has a big community in Terrace Bay. And I'm also an elder on the Ontario Coalition of Indigenous People. So we're not gonna stop just with the politics of local townships. We're gonna go after it from the native side as well. I hate to ramble on, but I'll give these points as to why I think it's a good idea. First of all, the equipment will be on site. The realignment of the road was to remove dangerous curves. People have died there, people have ended up in the ditch. This spot at the top of the hill will potentially cause accidents as people will briefly see the view, then react by pulling over, parking, slowing down, braking, and thus potentially causing accidents. People were gonna, you see them stop, almost stop at the view of the hydro hill, which is absolutely gorgeous. And you also see them try to stop at the overhead bridge near Rossford, where they put their brakes on, because they don't know where they're going, or it's such a beautiful view. They had need turning lanes in both directions are needed to clear the main highway of traffic. As it is, there will be passing lane going up the hill regardless, and paving will be needed, and all the equipment will be on site. This viewing station will not be meant for heavy trucks, only private smaller vehicles such as half tons and pedestrian cars and SUVs. This spot will give the most panoramic scenic view of the Rossford Channel, Lake Superior and Islands. This potential will be the best view of the north shore of Lake Superior, bar none, I believe. The DOT has stated that there are no plans for this to happen, as stated to Elise Bourgeois in my letter of inquiry. Hopefully the township will ask for more support from Ms. Bourgeois, as she has not answered my latest emails, gone into hiding, I think. Time is of the essence, and a potential change of plan by the DOT will take time. And DOT has stated that if Schreiber gets involved, and that would make it possible, but only if Schreiber paid the entire bill, something that the township cannot afford, of course. This only proves that the potential is possible if the government decided to include this plan. This application is meant to get a letter of some support from Schreiber and Terrace Bay, and also ask Terrace Bay for support. The DOT has said that the only rest stop in this region has been built in Terrace Bay, missing the entire reason for the potential at Salem. This would be a rest area, but not be a rest area, but a viewing area with picnic tables, outhouses, and paved parking with a fenced perimeter. And of course, I go on to try to get the natives on board. This is a potential viewing place for visitors to the Peace powwows as another place to visit while attending these events. It overlooks a huge area, which is the traditional territory of the Peace Flat First Nation. And you know yourself, you get company in town from Southern Ontario, where they come from. It's nice to have some other place to take them for a second or third date. You guys have some beautiful views here. You got the beach, you got the mouth of the river, you got the hill there with no real parking at overlooking Hydro Bay. But this here would be excellent. And the reason I'm all up on this is that the equipment is there. They've already cleared all the land that's on top. With very little effort on their part, but it would cost money. So, as I said, I'm just asking you for a letter of support without getting involved financially. I don't expect that, and I don't want that, because I know both towns, Wyvern and Terrace Bay, are really up for taxes right now. It's a difficult situation for both towns. But that's my presentation. If there's any questions, please ask, because I don't want to leave here and say, geez, I should have said this or should have said that.
John, did you ask Rossport? I know they have a local services board.
I've asked Rossport, but I haven't been able to get a contact person there yet. I'm thinking that maybe I could get McGrath. He sits on Stryber Town Council. I definitely intend on having somebody from Terrace Bay if we do form a committee. I want to get somebody from Rossport on that committee. And I've also talked to the Base Flat people, and they're 100% for it, but I have to go to a meeting with them. And, and make my case. That every time I've gone there so far in my life, though, they told me to get off the reserve. Which is sometimes interesting, in a polite way, of course, because I'm good friends with some. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. And without support from the townships in the immediate area and Rossport and Peace Flat, to me, it'll be a lost opportunity, and it would be a shame to let it go. I really do think that.
Any other questions?
I was just thinking, just to think out loud a little bit, have you talked at all with Ontario Parks, with Rainbow Falls particularly? Just, you were just thinking from a long-term maintenance, if they could incorporate something like that into the provincial park, then some of their employees can take care of the upkeep and whatnot, as after it's built. I wonder if that would be an avenue to explore as well.
I have not got that far yet, but that's a good idea.
Anyone else? Questions, comments?
Yep, I'll just say thank you for taking this on. I think it's a fantastic idea. I think it's a great idea as we explore how to expand our tourism opportunities and potential. And this is a beautiful area, and having people stop there for lunch. Potentially they could pick up lunch in Skybird Terrace Bay, bring it out there as well, and that would support local businesses as well. And it's for a letter of support, in my opinion, that's the least we could do for sure. For a starting point, I think that's a great idea. You're right about the financial aspect of it, but supporting that, I'm personally 100% for it, and I really do give you credit for taking this on as a volunteer and spending all this time and working together with all these different third parties and politicians and communities. It's a lot of work, so thank you for doing that.
Thank you very much.
Any other?
I'm good. I think it's a great spot for a lookout.
Pardon?
I think it's a great spot for a lookout. The pictures justify it.
Yeah, it's too bad you can't do the same at Hydro Hill, but the parking, you got a cliff going down. The logistics there are very difficult to put a park in there.
Yeah.
But that is a tremendous view itself. But this would be a second spot. I think you said you got company down. Well, okay, we're going to go see the gorge. We're going to go to the mouth of the river, and for the next day, we're going to go and have a look at the Rossport Channel, which is fantastic.
Okay, thank you, Ron. Thank you.
Thank you very much for listening, and if I'm free to go, I'm going to go, because I have another later appointment.
You're free.
I got to get ready for it.
You are free to go.
So you can get a hold of me. I'm in the phone book.
Yeah.
And if I have to come back to get that letter, if you decide to give me one, I'll be more than glad to write down.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks again for listening. Thanks for.
Worship, our original presentation is up. So,
Oh, shoot.
Okay, Okay, so thank you all so much for taking the time to allow me to share some information with you this evening about our service line warranty program and the benefits that it can bring your residents as well as the municipality. Really, a lot of what it's about is protecting residents as well as supporting municipal operations. So this is a resident-focused approach and will complement any existing municipal infrastructure programs that you might have. And we are working with now 80 plus municipalities across Ontario, Alberta, and Saskatchewan. We're a subsidiary of Brookfield Infrastructure, endorsed by AMO LAS, and we're the only provider of service line warranty programs in Canada, established in 1993. So the role in the partnership with the municipality is really limited to just endorsement. So there's no cost or liability or administration on the end of the municipality. And there's a lot of issues with our aging infrastructure here in Ontario. Many of the homes that were built in the 70s and 90s contain poly piping. There's a lot of older materials that are susceptible to cracking or failure. When we have some of our harsh winters in some of the northern, areas of Ontario, that can be something that can create a lot of problems with the freeze-thaw cycle. And so a lot of the private water and sewer laterals in some of the mature homes are also aging in parallel with the municipal infrastructure and can have an increased risk of failure, leaks, blockages, and various service interruptions as a result. And so in a lot of communities like Terrace Bay, when there's private side service line failures, it can be a problem that goes to the municipality, even though the responsibility is with the homeowner. So in often cases, we find that when failures occur, residents turn to public works or, someone in the municipality for guidance. And in that case, it can take up some operational time and is outside of the town's responsibility. So really, when it comes up, you have to kind of say, either you're going to make an exception for someone, which, sets a precedent, or you have to say, sorry, not our responsibility, and you're on your own and you're on the hook. And those repairs can be quite costly when a homeowner is hit with the costs that are associated with repairing or replacing their water or sewer service line. And so I spoke on some of these, some of our harsh winters, the aging private lines. A lot of the time, because these lines are out of sight and out of mind, it's not something that people spend a lot of time thinking about until they have a failure and until they have an issue. And so, there's risk in that. And so a lot of times when some of these things happen, when they're not a municipal service, but people think they are and say, oh, don't my tax dollars cover those repairs, and unfortunately they don't. And it's not something that a lot of homeowners have a lot of funds saved to take care of. And it can be thousands of dollars that unfortunately, you can't say, all right, well, we'll take care of that maybe next year or in a couple of years, we'll kick it down the road. These are repairs that need to be very urgently addressed in many cases. And so it can be costly when it falls on the homeowner. And so we do some research each year through our State of the Home survey. And some of the results basically that are, on a high level, find that there's a lot of homeowners who lack the resources to manage some of these repairs. 78% of homeowners believe that their utility providers should be educating them on repairs and preventative measures. Some municipalities are doing more of that than others. 58% of homeowners have had a home repair emergency in the last year, and that's obviously not even just a plumbing emergency, that's just all home emergencies. And 1/3 of Canadians don't have the funds available to address unexpected expenses from urgent repairs to their home. Our research shows that most people don't have even $500 saved, which unfortunately, when it comes to these repairs, isn't going to get you very far. And so, it's something where a lot of people, they see articles, in their local news about the investment in infrastructure and rising water rates, and it kind of leads them to believe that their entire system is protected. In reality, these lines that are on homeowners' private property are not the responsibility of the town, and a lot of homeowners aren't aware of that. So in many cases, they're obviously paying their taxes, contributing to rate increases. The municipalities are doing great work on the public side. But it's something that, through these solutions, we basically perform an awareness campaign a couple of times a year where it doesn't cost the municipality anything. And we say kind of like a PSA style, hey, resident, when it comes to this issue, did you know that this is what is the town's responsibility? This is what is your responsibility. In the event that you wish to protect yourself in this area, here's an affordable plan that's available to you through this municipal partnership that you can participate in if you want to mitigate your risk in this area. If not, they can just disregard it, but at least the municipality has, done the due diligence of letting them know that they are responsible for those lines without taking up any municipal resources. Because some municipalities will put something on their website or something out on social media, but it's not something people often see or are finding until they actually already have an issue. And in that case, unfortunately, it can be too late. And so our service line warranty program, we have 43,000 customers across Canada with 94,000 plans, a customer satisfaction rating of 4.7 out of 5 stars, 80 municipal partners across Ontario, Alberta, and Saskatchewan, but predominantly in Ontario. And we've completed over 23,000 repair jobs and saved homeowners $11 million to date. We just have a little quote here from the Mayor of Manitouwadge, which I think is relatively close to you guys. Not super familiar with the area, but we have been proud to be a partner of theirs. We were able to help one of their homeowners through our CARES fund not too long ago, who had been without water for a year. And we took care of those repairs at no cost to the homeowner. They weren't enrolled in this program actually, but we do have a fund that's available to homeowners in the communities that we're in. So if a low-income homeowner comes to your attention who's having difficulties affording a repair, and maybe even the $7 a month to enroll in this program was too much for them at that time, we will take care of those repairs at no cost as a gesture of goodwill in the communities that we're in. And so that's something that we were able to do in Manitouwadge for that resident, which was obviously very impactful. You never want anyone to be in that situation, but when they are and we can make a difference, it's really a good story. And so some of the things that, we're finding the program aligns with some municipalities is when you're focusing on renewing some of your core water and wastewater infrastructure. Some of these things, as I had mentioned, previously, are strengthening some of the main system, but the private water and sewer service lines are aging in parallel to that. And so failures on the homeowner side can undermine the reliability and efficiency of the broader network. In many cases, in smaller communities, they have, small operations teams, relatively few staff that can be stretched across a variety of different areas. And I'm sure, staff are all very busy there. And so some of these issues, even if it's once in a blue moon when they come up, staff can get pulled into some of those, investigations or guiding the resident or giving them their advice. And it can take up, additional staff time when it's really nothing to do with the municipality in many ways. And so an optional program, through service line warranties can align with your asset management goals by reducing avoidable service interruptions and supporting resident preparedness and lowering unplanned operational strain as your infrastructure renewal program continues. So here's a breakdown of our coverage structure that we offer. So as you can see, we offer very generous coverage limits for these repairs or replacements for a very affordable monthly rate. That's something that is for the water line and sewer line. We also do offer in-home plumbing coverage. It's obviously not connected to municipal infrastructure, so it's not as relevant, but it is exceptional value because it's $9 a month. And even if someone calls a plumber, once in a year, that's basically the call-out fee in some places. So a lot of homeowners will purchase all three, or they'll add the in-home plumbing coverage onto the water or sewer line coverage. And so that's just something else that's available to them. That's a really good option. We have a 24/7, 365 emergency repair line, 1-year guaranteed repairs. We work with local and licensed contractors. We monitor the jobs and customer experience very closely. So every time we go out and do a job, the customer after receives a survey where they're asked for their, opinion and their thoughts on their experience. And we monitor that feedback very closely. Importantly, there's no deductibles, there's no forms, paperwork, or any administrative burden for the homeowners to add to their stress during that time. They really just call us, and all the arrangements are between us and the contractor. There's no pre-inspection. Obviously, that would be very difficult for us to do. And so these coverage limits are per incident. We find that the coverage caps, this will almost always be sufficient. It's very rare that a job will exceed those thresholds. But we do offer the option for the municipality to look at what their average job costs are in their area, and if they think that those need to be adjusted any higher. But I mean, in the very rare incident where you would have, maybe a $9,000 job and the coverage was $8,000, you're still getting $8,000, of that job covered. So you're only out of pocket $1,000 versus $9,000. So, we do find that these are very comprehensive coverage caps for the price that they're offered. And when we launch in new communities, we often offer different, introductory offers, various discounts for bundling, discounts for enrolling for the year. So in many cases, the first year or two, your residence rates would actually also be even lower than this. Now, a lot of the questions that we get, a lot of the time from counselors or sometimes from staff, is that, isn't this something that people have through coverage through their homeowner policy? And we often encourage people to check what coverage they do have through their homeowner policy, because a lot of the time it will cover water damage, from service line failure, but won't actually cover the repair or replacement of those pipes. And then, there's always a deductible with insurance. You can potentially get into a situation where, you're looking at past and future claims and rising rates potentially. So this covers, the actual repair and replacement of those private side service lines. There's no deductibles. We have, as I said, the service aspect as well, where we have 24/7, 365 response coordinated through our local contractors. It also includes frozen services coverage, and that's not something that I'm aware of being covered through anything else. So we have a couple Sorry, did someone have a question?
No, sorry.
Okay, sorry, I can't see, so please feel free to just jump in. So, there's a couple insurers who are now offering this type of program as an add-on to your homeowner coverage, but it's not something a lot of people are actively, or any of the insurance companies are really actively marketing. And so most people don't know about it unless they ask about it, and they don't ask about it unless they're made aware that it's their responsibility. And so when we do our communication to residents, to share information about the program, to share information about their, water and sewer service line responsibility, we do encourage them in the language, we say first, obviously, that it's optional for them to participate in or not, but also that we encourage them to check their homeowner policy, and explore what their options are through there, because often they either won't have coverage through their homeowner policy, or they'll have coverage that they can add on that will have a deductible, and they will then have to go out and find a contractor to take care of those repairs. They will still have to pay the contractor before waiting and getting any money back from the insurer, which in and of itself can be very difficult. Just to come up with the funds to pay the contractor and then wait, 6 weeks or whatever to get money back from the insurance company. And so this also is not just mitigating the financial risk and eliminating any out of pocket that the customer might have, but also the service aspect, where then all they have to do is call us and they don't have to go and try and find someone to come and take care of it. And the way that we do this is through a branded letter that we send out. So we're still finding that, even in this day and age, this digital age, the most successful way that we have homeowners sign up for the program is through direct mail. So usually a couple of times a year, we send out a letter. The letter would have your logo on the envelope. And the reason why we do that is so that people know that it is something that is legitimate. In many cases right now, there's all kinds of home scans and different things that exist out in the world that unfortunately a lot of people are taking advantage of, and they pay into and no one shows up. And so this just basically says, first, hopefully people will open it and read it instead of tossing it in the garbage, because mailing costs are expensive. And so we can't afford to offer the level of coverage that we do at the prices we do if all the mail is going to go in people's garbage. So it ensures that people are at least going to open it, read it, and understand what their responsibility is and what options that they have. And then if they want to toss it after that, then they're welcome to. But it just makes sure that they know that it's a credible offer. It's been vetted by the town, because unfortunately, if someone doesn't work in municipal government, an AMO endorsement, doesn't necessarily mean anything to them. And if they haven't lived in one of the communities that we're in, they wouldn't be familiar with us either. So we don't want to be junk mail, but we also don't ever send anything out without the municipality's approval. So we always, before we're going to send anything out, we reach out and say, hey, this is the spring letter we'd like to send out. Do you have any feedback? Is now a good time to send this to your residents? If there's something else going on, so you can come back with changes or approval or whatever it might be. All the messaging is very clear about it being optional and, what it's all about and the intention of the partnership. We also have a very tenured call center support staff. And so the customer experience is really important to us when people do have an issue, when they do call in. We have a very excellent team that handles those conversations. We also have a very low commitment, on the customer side, because customers can cancel their plans anytime. There's not any kind of late fees or collections or anything like that. And we're also covering those claims even if the counts are in arrears, if they are brought up to date. We have a very low complaint frequency. And really just, we take care of all the administration of everything of running the program, the customer service, billing, claims, everything like that. And the municipality is also indemnified through our partnership agreement. So really all the work hopefully rests on us and is taken off your plate and your residents as well. These are obviously larger, statistics from some of the larger communities that we're in. But I think it is good to see how, the repairs that we have done in the last 2 years, even just in these communities alone. So in just 2 years in these municipalities that are listed, you can see the frequency there of the failures, the scale of the repair costs that we've done, and the investment that we've made in the infrastructure there. So we've saved the homeowners in those communities $2.7 million over 2 years, and that's not including, all of our other wonderful partners throughout Ontario. So I think it just really goes to show the value of the program for those homeowners. And then I did speak about the work we did through our CARES program in Manitouwadge. But that's something that, we offer everywhere in the areas that we're partnered. So if there's homeowners who are experiencing financial hardship and have not enrolled in the program, then we will fund repairs for those homeowners as well. So it allows you to support equity outcomes without having to rely on any kind of subsidies. Doesn't then involve any staff in eligibility or funding decisions or counsel. If you have someone coming to you saying that they can't afford those repairs, it avoids any situation where council, it would be escalated or you'd have to make an exception or set a precedent by helping a homeowner with one of those situations. And it's a very straightforward process for homeowners to apply for that as well. Here's just a few customer testimonials, and I've shared my presentation with staff, so I'm sure they can share afterwards with some of the additional references and information that we have available. And so really that's the program, optional and homeowner paid, no cost to the town, helps reinforce property line responsibility, hopefully reduces any private side inquiries that you might get. I don't know what the volume is there, but even one can be quite a headache sometimes. Administered entirely by us and all subject to your approval. So at this time, I'll take any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you, Elise. Any questions from council? Rick, you
No.
have your hand up? No?
No.
Gary, no? Marley? No? No, or John?
Just two and they're kind of related. So when you partner with a contractor, do you try to partner with local contractors or as close as possible?
Yeah, I mean, it just obviously depends, what options are available in different communities, right? In some cases, you've got one contractor who's servicing, 5 towns or something like that. So we try whenever we can, if you do have a contractor within town, limits, or someone that, you would recommend, essentially whoever you would recommend to your homeowners if they called you and they had this issue and you had to say it was their responsibility and they asked who they should call to help them with the repair, it would probably be that person. Some municipalities like to recommend a business. Some municipalities prefer not to, and we go and find someone ourselves. Any contractors are welcome to apply to join the network. So provided that they have the right licensing, the right equipment, they meet the various standards that we have for our contractor network. We would work with any local contractors. In some of the smaller communities, we don't want to bring too many on at once, just because until there's the job volume, we need to manage expectations that they're going to go through all the process of joining our contractor network and they're not going to get a meaningful work volume. we want to be mindful of that. And if there's any neighboring communities, like in some cases, if, we have a stretch of areas where we have several municipalities who are partnered with us in one area, sometimes there's one or two contractors that are supporting a number of municipalities, that we're partnered with across a certain geographic area. So it would really depend, but if there's a contractor you would want us to approach, if we partnered with you, then we would be happy to do that.
So on the tail end of that, I guess my next question would be is if they had to come from a distance on the limits, you described the 8,000 and 8 or 9,000 and 3,000. If they have mob and demob costs or travel costs, are those taken off that amount or?
I mean, probably, because I guess it would be whatever they're billing us, right? So do you find that's a significant contributor to some of the repair costs that exist there? Like, you think the thresholds might not be high enough?
So for us as a municipality, it is something we experience from time to time in hiring contractors because we have to hire them from the Thunder Bay, typically is our closest big center. So
Okay.
that's just what came to mind. Just because the cost for our contractors to mow and deboom and travel will be much higher than, potentially a single plumber coming to town to do some work.
Yeah.
But just food for thought on that, with respect to the limits that were there.
Yeah, typically we would establish a flat rate for some of those things. So when we partner with a contractor, they would have to give us some rates that we would agree on in advance to say, what they would charge for traveling just there. The most standard common jobs, what we would agree to as a price for those things. So we do establish kind of like a rate card with them, when we partner with them. And so obviously there are some exceptions off of that, but we would get a sense kind of right out of the gate when we partnered with them on what they were going to charge for travel costs. And we hope obviously to keep those costs down by having people that are closer. But obviously it can depend. But as I said, the coverage levels are flexible. So if you feel like, you want to take a look at what the job costs are on the residential side in your area and whether this will be sufficient, we can always adjust. It would mean slightly higher prices for your customers, obviously, but not much. I mean, I think in one community we increased it to 12K and it was 50 cents more a month. So we can look at that depending on what you feel would be appropriate, because obviously we don't want to run into a situation where we have customers enrolling in the program and then still having any out of pocket expenses, because this is really designed to obviously eliminate that.
Last one, sorry, it's me asking all the questions.
No, please.
The last one is, you may have.
I get a lot more than this usually.
Sorry if I missed it. Does it apply only to residential properties or can commercial and other properties apply?
Yeah, just residential, simply because we kind of have our whole modeled structure on the single family dwelling. When you get into commercial properties, the jobs can really range much more drastically. If you really don't necessarily know what you're looking at, whereas here we have a pretty good idea across the board of what the single family dwelling, what the jobs are, what those are going to look like. So there's a lot more variability that has so far kept us out of some of the commercial work, but it is something that we get asked about enough that I think, maybe one day we'll have.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thanks for the presentation, Elise, and hopefully talk to you soon.
Great, thanks so much for having me.
Thanks.
Bye.
Okay, Marley, you're up.
Right. Thank you. So, first I'd like to state that we are now halfway through our school year, and so we just began our second semester. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about was bus cancellations. So since our high school includes students that are not only from Terrace Bay, but also from Scribe, Rossport, and Pays Flat, the highway conditions in our area create a variety of challenges for our bus systems, affecting students' ability to get to school every day. These challenges are usually related to weather or staffing. Although many students enjoy these days off school, teachers often see these snow days as lost instructional time that puts classes behind in their learning. So when the buses are canceled, students are expected to complete their schoolwork and contact their teachers from home using their school computers. However, this can create barriers for students who struggle to use and navigate technology or who have left their school supplies at school. So next, I'd like to give an update on all our sports. So on February 10th and 11th, we hosted the NSSSAA semifinals for girls volleyball and boys basketball. So we had teams travel here from Marathon, Manitouwadge, Nipawin, Geraldton, and Long Lac. We had students compete, or we had also had students come from Terrace Bay Public School and St. Martin's to cheer on our teams, which was a great opportunity to support our elementary students in their transition to high school. So our student council, along with other student and staff volunteers, ran a canteen and a bake sale to raise money for our athletes. So for every sport that our students participate in and every overnight sports trip that we go on, they must pay a fee. As a school, we try to support our student athletes and their families by fundraising to help reduce these fees. So our junior and senior boys basketball teams both competed and won all of their games. They will now be advancing to the finals. So they left today. They're going to be playing tomorrow to play for the NSSSAA junior boys and senior boys basketball banners. So winning these banners means that they're the top teams in our district, which ranges from Red Rock to Long Lac to Chapleau. It would also give our senior boys a chance to compete for a spot at OFSA, which is the highest level of competition, including teams from all across Ontario. And then we've also got curling starting soon, so they've already started practicing and we've got our teams. Their first tournament is in Long Lac on February 22nd to 24th for their NSSSAA. The first and second winning place teams go to NWASA, which is going to be in Fort Francis on the 27th. Our boys and girls teams will both be attending and competing to hopefully win banners. And then, so outside of the school and our kind of community updates. So on Saturday the 7th of February, our Scarborough Terrace Bay Figure Skating Club held the North Shore Open competition. We had skaters from Thunder Bay, Marathon, and White River attend and compete along with the skaters from our club. So the stands were full of supporters, especially from our communities, and the competition was organized and run entirely by the Scarborough Terrace Bay Figure Skating Club executive and parent volunteers. So overall, the competition ran smoothly and was enjoyed by all skaters and everyone who came to watch and cheer them on. And then lastly, this Thursday, February 12th, our soccer field received a visit from Kim Osmondson, who, along with students from Terrace Bay Public School, created some snowshoe art in support of victims and their families and friends in Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia. So some of our high school students, including me, joined the public school and taking some pictures with the snowshoe art to show our support. And that's all I've got.
Thank you. Any questions? Where do they go for basketball today?
Chapleau. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they left today and they're gonna play tomorrow and hopefully they can win.
So with snow day or whatever, like Christian might be able to answer this. If you're at a lab or whatever, what happens to the?
I just move it. I typically, there's a storm coming Thursday.
Yeah.
So I try to jig my courses so that students can do independent work on the days that are, so if I plan something big or a lecture or something along those lines or a lab, then I'll move it the next day or the day previous, and then that way. But staffing is, as Marley had mentioned, or student counselor McGrath had mentioned, staffing has become, with a lot of things around here, is an issue. For the first time in my career this year, multiple times our buses are canceled because there's a lack of staff. This is our daily run from Scarborough and Rossport and Hayes Platte, and it affects student learning that way. So just to go on that, so I know if people are interested in, put the word out there, if people are interested in potential careers here, if they're not working, then that is one that they're constantly looking for. As drivers, even going to Chapleau, they drove, the parents and volunteers and some teachers drove today to support that. Partially is cost, but also partially is availability of drivers.
Thank you. Yep. No other questions? No. Thank you, Marlon. We have a motion moved by Councillor Juneau, second by Councillor St. Louis. Resolve the council accept the student council report as information. All in favor? Carried. John, the strat plan update or budget plan schedule, sorry.
Thank you, Your Worship. So just the reports were on this, but there is a resolution for council to change the budget dates from this Thursday, Friday to the Tuesday, Wednesday, the third and the fourth of March. And that's in respect to the information we received from impact with respect to the mills assessment and taxation. So Danny and I will be prepared to bring that forward on those dates, just so we could pull it together for the end of this week. So that's the reason for the change, and if anybody wants to discuss the dates, we're open to that as well too.
No questions on that?
No.
Okay, we have a motion moved by Councillor Dunal, seconded by Councillor St. Louis, resolve the council amend the previously scheduled budget meetings on February 19th and 20th and move them to March 3rd and 4th, respectively. All in favor? Carried. And the next one, John, is strat plan update.
Thank you, Your Worship. So when presented with the final 2025-2029 strat plan in January last year, the township was also provided with a template for reporting back to council, tracking the strategic plan process. The intent was to have administration report back to council periodically with progress updates on each of the goals and the 3 to 5 strategic priorities within each goal. So current discussion attaches the updated February template for the 2025-2029 Terrace Bay strategic plan. Some general highlights, most of the goals and actions are underway, some further along than others. In terms of focus on short-term goals and actions are a 1-year target that haven't started yet. Only 2 remain. I think there were 4 to 6 the last time I updated council, so we are moving forward. The percentages that are included there on the attachment, I mean, really they're more or less placeholders. I do take input from the management team on where to go, but supportive housing, for instance, is an example. Like we could say we're 40 to 50% along the way of getting the housing report from NPI. But in terms of the entire project, I mean, it would go back to not started because we haven't put shovels in the ground yet. So just keep that in mind when you're reading through the goals. We are making progress on the pre-work. We will get to the actual project and either reset those numbers or change the description. Yep. Statuses are updated with input from the management team, along with the percentages I just said. What still needs improvement, more frequent internal tracking updates, and administration should also be referencing the strat plan relevant in your projects and reports. So one of the things I'm trying to do is get a line essentially in the reports from administration on iCompass that says, here's the strat, like here, just gives us a chance to explain how this falls in line with the strat plan or doesn't, it's something outside of the strat plan kind of thing. So
Like that.
just an additional explanation. So, I had a couple of other errors to fix, and then they had the customer service. It takes a while to get things done. So anyway, we'll get it done as soon as possible. Financial implications, none at this time. Really, this is presented for council's information only. And with that, I would give it open up for questions. The council wants me to go through the presentation. I'm happy to do that, but it was included in the package. And like I said, I did highlight that most of the items have been at least started. And keeping in mind this is a 4.5 year strat plan by the time we come out and doing a new one. So we're about midway through, put it that way.
Any questions for John?
No, I looked through your presentation and it looks good.
Yeah, I was looking through it as well, and yeah, it's good. I like having the status and percent complete. Yeah, it makes sense that you can always readjust these goals and numbers as projects develop and whatnot, or reword some of the actions. But yeah, I felt it was really easy to read, and it gave a really good snapshot of where we are with a lot of projects on the way.
Yeah. I would just say under goal 3, when it comes to resilient, diversified economy, just the conversation around the CDC committee and economic development. I mean, I feel like it's probably more than 0. It's not far along, but it is farther than that, I would imagine, just from the fact that we've had a conversation around the CDC committee table about that, moves that needle a little bit. So
51 or 2. Sorry, just
page number first.
What are you looking at? Sorry, Counselor.
Sorry, 3.3 under resilient and diversified economy, creating investor focused set of sell sheets for any property or building. I know like some of those specific tasks may not be complete, but I would just argue that the fact that we've had this conversation around that committee is our, yeah. We're making waves, maybe. Yeah.
No other questions?
Oh, I just, yes.
Yeah, if there are any questions from council, you're free to come in and talk to myself or administration at any time, and we're happy to go over some of the stuff or talk about the specific goal area you want to talk about. So.
Yeah, I guess my final question would just kind of my standing question anytime we have a presentation, is there anything particular from council that administration would appreciate or would be helpful to continue moving it forward? Or any particular goals that, you know, we're really falling short on and maybe just evaluate or offer more committee support or anything like that?
So just through the chair, no, not in particular. The remaining orange or whatever color that is, the zeros, most of them when I was going through this, I thought, okay, well, you know, we're not there yet. Maybe we will be doing this, you know, 3 months from now,
Okay.
or, you know, we have to wait for budget to pass to address this one, and it'll move the needle a little bit. So nothing in particular, but if something does come up again, similar to us inviting council, we'll bring it back to the table if we're having any trouble with the goals.
It's better than it has been in the previous 4 years when we didn't really know where we were.
That's right.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, okay, thanks for that, John. Okay, we have a motion moved by Councillor St. Louis, second by Councillor Duno, resolve the council accept this report as information only. All in favor? Carried. Infrastructure, municipal infrastructure, signing, yes. Just read the motion.
Nope, I'm go to the report, actually, wait for you to catch up. So following an application submission by administration last year, the province of Ontario has approved funding towards the rehabilitation of water, sewer, stormwater, and road infrastructure under the Municipal Housing Infrastructure Program's Health and Safety and Water Stream, or MHIP, HSWS. This major infrastructure renewal will address critical water, stormwater, and wastewater needs along the entirety of Hudson Drive and Birch Crescent, supporting the long-term safety, reliability, and resilience of Terrace Bay's core infrastructure. This project will help protect existing housing, safeguard public health and safety, and ensure that the community's infrastructure remains strong for decades to come. So the Ministry of Infrastructure has committed up to $170,887 towards eligible project costs on a projected total budget of approximately 15 million. So that's roughly 73% support. The township will contribute the remaining share of the project budget and will be responsible for any additional or ineligible costs that arise throughout the project's construction phase. Construction is expected to begin in 2027 and be fully completed by 2029. Current discussion: before construction can begin and to receive this funding, the township must enter into a transfer payment agreement with His Majesty the King and Right of Ontario, as represented by the Ministry of Infrastructure. The funding is conditional upon entering into a comprehensive TPA with the province. Complying with additional terms and conditions the province may impose prior to entering into the TPA. Happy to report there haven't been any yet, so we're good there so far. Complying with the terms and conditions of the TPA, including the provincial duty to consult and environmental assessment requirements as applicable, and such other terms and conditions as may be imposed by the province. So administration, as I said, has received a TPA from the province, is presenting it to council for passage via bylaw. Schedules B and C, which contain kind of the meat and potatoes or the details of the funding, are attached, and they include the funding parameters themselves and the timelines. So financial implications: ultimately the township will be responsible for approximately 4.1 in its share of eligible costs by the end of the project. The deadline for completion of this project is March 31st, 2029. Given the size and complexity of the work required, it will be phased in over the 3-year timeline, 3-year plus timeline, as will the costs over applicable budget years. The plan is to have the engineering completed in 2026, construction start in 2027, and to be substantially completed by the end of 2028, our fiscal year. But we have that little piece of 2029 to finish anything else off if necessary. The township's portion of the eligible cost for 2026 will be included and deliberated during the 2026 budget process. So the options are: the council accept the funding under the Municipal Housing Infrastructure Program's Health and Water Safety Stream, and enter into a transfer payment agreement with His Majesty the King and Right of Ontario, as represented by the Minister of Infrastructure, that the appropriate bylaw be brought forward. Option 2 is the council not enter into the TPA with respect to the Municipal Housing Infrastructure Program's Health and Safety Water Stream with the King in Right of Ontario, and directs administration otherwise. Administration is recommending option 1.
Any questions? When are we gonna put it out for engineering, John?
We're ready to go, anytime. Budget's obviously a pretty big factor there, but, the other thing is we can also issue RFP and say it's dependent on budget as well too, so. Yeah, we're ready to go.
Okay, no other questions? So we have a motion moved by Councillor Duno, seconded by Councillor St. Louis, resolve the council accept the funding under the Municipal Housing Infrastructure Program's Health and Safety Water Stream and enter into a transfer payment agreement with His Majesty the King and Right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Infrastructure, and that's the appropriate bylaw. Be brought forward. All in favor? Carried. Okay, the next one, John, is the interim tax levy bylaw.
Thank you, worship. So we'll bring this on behalf of the treasurer. Every year, council must pass a bylaw to impose an interim tax levy prior to the adoption of the estimates budget for the current year. Section 317 Municipal Act allows municipality to impose this bylaw. This levy facilitates the financing of operation and eliminates or reduces the need to borrow. The act limits the amount to be levied on any property to 50% of the total amount levied on the property in the previous year for municipal and educational purposes. Points 2 and 3 of the bylaw describe how properties that have had assessment changes are to be taxed. 50% of the previous year's rate of the applicable tax class will be applied to the property's assessed value. So under current discussion, by passing the interim tax levy bylaw, administration will proceed with the first cycle of tax billing. It will be mailed out in early March and the due dates coming in 2 installments on March 31st and on April 30th of 2026. Financial implications. Approving the bylaw will produce approximately 2.07 million in tax revenue, with 1.92 million belonging to the municipality. So the options are approve the 2026 interim tax levy bylaw and the relevant bylaw brought forward. Option 2 is to not approve that bylaw and ask administration to make changes as directed. Administration is recommending option 1 that we approve the bylaw.
Any questions? We have a motion moved by Councillor St. Louis, seconded by Councillor Dubé. Resolve that council approve the 2026 interim tax levy bylaw and that the relevant bylaw be brought forward. All in favor? Carried. Okay, John, the next one, or is that, are you doing that one, John? The correct those changes?
So from time to time, the township has bids that are no longer required, obsolete, and administration wishes to sell them off. Section 12 of bylaw 1820-2021, the current policy or bylaw dictates how surplus items are to be dealt with. So under section 12, the disposal of surplus and obsolete goods, department heads shall notify the treasurer when goods become obsolete or surplus to the requirements of their departments. The department head shall be responsible for ascertaining if the goods can be of use to another department from the township. The department head shall prepare a report to council with a recommendation to transfer the goods to another department, advertise the goods for sale to the public via auction or tender, or to have the goods classified as waste and disposed of accordingly. No council member, employee, or volunteer shall be permitted to receive the surplus, scrap, or obsolete goods except by purchase at a public auction or by public tender. This policy in no way precludes the township from donating surplus goods to a not-for-profit organization. For the purposes of this section, there are where 2 or more bids are equal, the bid that was received earlier shall be deemed higher. That's the end of the section of the policy. So the recreation department has the following items to list as surplus: curling club chairs. So the curling club had fundraised years ago for the chairs for their facility. Fortunately, there was a mishap in relation to a rental in 2023, and despite the best efforts at repairs, that combined with normal age wear and tear have caused the chairs to become increasingly unusable. The recreation department has also done their due diligence to repair the chairs over time with 1x4 boards, glue, and other supports to hold the seats together and intended to preserve them. However, this has reached a critical juncture where a decision needs to be made. As a result, the original chairs have now been swapped out with municipal chairs from our inventory. Therefore, the existing curling club chairs are being brought forward to be listed as surplus. Given the age and condition of the items, administration has deemed there to be no feasible use within other township departments. Approximately 80% of the chairs have loose rungs and split seats, making them uncomfortable, potentially unsafe, and beyond reasonable repair. It's recommended they simply be disposed of, classified as waste, and simply disposed of. The remaining 20% will be advertised for sale via public tender process responding to the treasurer. So financial implications: any funds generated from the sale will be included in the 2026 budget to become part of the annual surplus deficit. The options are the council declare the following items as surplus: curling club chairs, and that these items be advertised for sale via public tender process responding to the treasurer. Option 2 is the council does not approve these items as surplus and directs administration otherwise. Administration, of course, is recommending option one.
Any questions?
Nope.
No.
Okay, we have a motion moved by Councillor Dubé, seconded by Councillor St. Louis, resolve the council declare the following items as surplus. One, curling club chairs, and that these items be advertised for sale via public tender process, responding through the treasurer. All in favor? Carried. Next items are the bylaws. We have a motion moved by Councillor St. Louis, second by Councillor Dubé, resolve that a bylaw to approve the 2026 interim tax levy bylaw be read a first, second, and third time. Finally passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed and numbered on the 17th day of February 2026. All in favor? Carried. And the last bylaw, we have a motion moved by Councillor Dubé, second by Councillor Aduno, resolve that a bylaw to enter into an agreement with His Majesty the King and Right of Ontario, as represented by the Municipal Housing Infrastructure Program's Health and Safety Water Stream Transfer Payment Agreement be read a first, second, and third time. And finally passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed and numbered on the second day of February 2026. All in favor? Carried. Any questions over here? Mike, do you have any questions?
Any questions online? Go ahead.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions with regard to the funding for the infrastructure project. Listen, when you submit the application to the province for the funding, did you identify the actual route that you wanted to rehabilitate?
Yes.
So if you run into a situation where the costs, once you get started, are greater than what the revenue is available to cover it, and you decide to move a Crescent out of the equation for rehabilitation, will you be clawed back from the province because of not having completed that portion of the project?
Yes. John might be able to answer that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, we're too initial to make any big calls like that. We need to go to tender first. But accordingly, and typically in the TPAs, that's what it does say, is if you don't complete work that you said you were going to complete, they would hold back or claw back money accordingly. It's hard to say what they would do if you're going to talk to them and you do come back over the tender and it's way over cost. You may be able to go back to them and say, well, hang on, we need this for this kind of thing. Because I think something like that happened in the past, with respect to, either the roof for this building or one of the whole projects before I got here. So.
The reason I asked to go back to the waterfront development project, that project had clawed back significantly, and then we were cautious about what we could cut back and what we couldn't cut back. So just wanted to make sure that if we go ahead with this project, that we're not jeopardizing money's coming away from it by having to take a portion out. Anyway, thanks.
I can probably build on that a little bit too, Mike. The engineering costs that we're gonna incur this year, that's gonna include construction cost estimates. So we'll be able to have a clearer picture by this fall on how much is a project we can bring. Hopefully all of it, but we will have a better construction cost estimate at the end of the year.
Thanks, Drew.
Okay, thanks, man.
Any questions online, Joe?
Any questions online? Second call? And any questions online? Third and final call? I don't believe there's any questions on your worship.
We have a motion moved by Councillor Aduno, second by Councillor Dubé, resolved that the next regular meeting of council be held on March 2nd. All in favor? Carried. And last but not least, we have a motion moved by Councillor Dubé, second by Councillor Aduno, resolved that we now adjourn at 19:34. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.